We're gonna have to go no later than noon.
Well, no, what those wheels are they're a Humvee wheel.
I love research, it's like, you get to play, actually, once in the process, it's great.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're gonna call Gardner City Council to order. Would invite everyone in attendance to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, there she is? Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is a proclamation. I'm going to come around front and make it. How's everybody hearing with the microphones and the speakers this evening? Better? Jerry?
Well, you might remind Christie.
Jerry's saying you need to lean in, Christie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're forgetting.
Well, good evening. We're going to make a proclamation this evening in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And then I'm going to invite one of our residents up, a breast cancer survivor, to maybe accept the proclamation on our behalf and perhaps say a few words about early detection and whatever else you think might be pertinent for those of you in attendance. But to begin, whereas, while considerable progress has been made in the fight against breast cancer, it remains the most commonly diagnosed cancer and the second leading cause of death among women in the United States. And whereas, each year it is estimated that more than 230,000 women and 2,000 men in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and more than 40,000 will die as a result of the disease. And whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a platform for educating women about the importance of early detection of breast cancer through mammography and other methods. And whereas through research and advocacy, significant advances have been made in the fight against breast cancer, including significant decreases in mortality. And whereas this October we recognize breast cancer survivors, those battling the disease with their families and friends, who are a tireless source of love and encouragement, and applaud the efforts of our medical professionals and researchers working to find a cure for this deadly disease. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Morrow, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2015 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Monica, can you come up and join us for a minute? This is Monica Jacobs. How long have you lived in Gardner now?
Oh, gosh, since '99.
Since 99, so 16 years, thereabouts. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
I would like to present the proclamation to you, and could you maybe say a few words to the people in attendance about the importance of early detection?
Yes.
And anything else that you think is pertinent?
You stole my statistics, so those are exactly, yeah. One more thing that I wanted to add is that I was surprised when I looked through some things this weekend that the Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October actually started in 1985 by the American Cancer Society. I was surprised. We certainly hear a lot about it in the last 5 to 10 years, but I didn't realize it had started that long ago. So it is something that has created a lot of attention over the years because of the many diagnoses that occur every year. And obviously, the best thing that you can do yourself or you can encourage anyone in your life is that you have the going on, we'll celebrate 5 years in December. So, absolutely would not have, it was the mammogram, in my case, that caught it very early, and it was only because of that. So, very important that you follow up with that and encourage those around you. It's something that no one likes to go to, so encourage those family members and yourself to get that done. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and thanks for coming in, and God bless, and we'll see you back here again next year, maybe. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you'd like to make a public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be heard. With no one coming forward, I was waiting, Adam. Good evening. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a council member present that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second more that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda passes. We're going to return to an old business item. Old business item number 1. Consider adopting a resolution revising resolution number 1927, establishing the Economic Development Advisory Committee. We adopted this resolution back in June or July, and to establish an advisory committee to include representatives of the, and we, at the last meeting, we decided to update this to include a representative of the Planning Commission to serve as an ex officio member, in this case, the Planning Commission chair or their designee. So, we've got the resolution language. If there's anyone that, in the public that would like to make comments regarding what is going to be resolution number 1933, please step forward, state your name and address for the record and be heard. With no one coming forward. Council, any questions regarding the resolution?
Yeah, I have a couple of problems with it. First off, I mean, we found that all of the resolutions that remain, and including the one that we already fulfilled with the formation of the street, sidewalks, and stormwater committee, I think they're all a little bit flawed, and we'd probably need to table this and send staff back to correct this flaw. And I think because of the back and forth that you and I, Mr. Mayor, had over email, there's some issues with what the definition of a recommendation is versus what the definition of a final recommendation is. Those aren't spelled out in any of the resolutions. Probably need to go back and get that spelled out. And I would even go so far as to say we should rescind all of those and start over with whatever the proper instrument would be, either an ordinance or a resolution, that spells out explicitly what exactly the ad hoc committee appointment process is. Then come back and create new resolutions around that process that form these committees. And I would say we just grandfather the Streets and Sidewalks Committee. We've already formed it, let's let it go. These other ones, I think it would be really, it would be really doing, I don't want to do any more pulling people, you know, from the public, into the public eye and, you know, saying recommend versus not recommend, voting on them and all this other stuff. I'd rather do this like we do other committees. That's just my opinion.
I would tend to agree with that. I think that if we reestablish some of the ordinances around the committees, I would also like to see quantifiable criteria. I mean, if we're not just soliciting volunteers, then I would like to see quantifiable criteria for the candidates, and it's as simple as they meet them or they don't meet them, rather than speculation and hearsay and innuendo. I mean, just this is what we expect and move forward.
You know, let me weigh in real quick, and Rich, I'll get to you. You know, this is one of those things, and we talked about this when we were looking at the resolutions the first time around, and you know, one of the things, because we had included some suggested qualifiers that might make someone more qualified than someone else, and more desirable, might mean that somebody would get a preference. But at the same time, if we looked at the Streets and Sidewalks and Stormwater Committee as a for instance, one of the people that I was most excited about being able to recommend and have us vote on for that committee is Adam Boydston. Hi, Adam. Who, while a very diligent citizen, and somebody that's come here and addressed the governing body on many occasions, I think he would admit that while he has educated himself, he's certainly not a qualified civil engineer or city planner or any of the type of roles that you would hope for if you're looking for technical expertise as far as these committees are concerned.
We can hash that out.
On top of that, I've got, you know,
You're wasting our time, Mr. Mayor. We can hash that out in a work session, at a future work session. We need to talk about whether or not we want to move forward with this resolution as it sits. That's what we should be talking about. Christie's got some good input that would be really well, really applicable in a work session.
Okay, well, first off, I'm sorry that you felt the need to interrupt me.
I don't like time being wasted.
Sir, I will try not to interrupt you, okay? I had one other point that I'd like to make, and I'm so glad to see Debbie Hickman here this evening, sitting in the back row. I know she's moving to Spring Hill. She will certainly be missed, but Debbie was one of the people that would tell you over and over again that sometimes what you really need is advice from just the plain old folks. I think that's probably a pretty fair assessment, isn't it, Debbie?
Very. I think that if you live here in Gardner, you experience in Gardner, you do have something that you can offer, and hopefully there would be some advice and guidance from your council mentor for that committee, as well as people that may have a parallel expertise.
You know, so my bottom line is that I don't want to be exclusionary of people that don't have particular expertises, and I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be. What I would like, what I envisioned, was that council members would get a recommendation, and I would issue a final recommendation to council with the hope that we would all appreciate the volunteers in the community that are willing to come forward and serve. It's taken a whole lot more time and been a little bit more strenuous than it has to have been to get some of these committees established. Shoot, the Parks and Recreation Committee still isn't established. We're still missing a recommendation from one of the council members, and, I would have thought that would have been one of the first ones and one of the easiest ones to get established. I think that, when you take into consideration that each of you gets a recommendation, that maybe if we had a little respect for everybody else's recommendations, that we could get through this with a minimum amount of fuss. Debbie, if you'd like to approach the microphone, you were kind of hollering from the back row this last time. Might as well come up here and state your name and address for the record again.
For a few more weeks, 848 South Sumac in Gardner. I believe the average citizen has a lot to offer, but I haven't been to meetings lately. I've had some other things going on, but I've watched them. But I still think there needs to be direction, and I think some things need to be clarified. I think there needs to be people who have possibly already shown an interest in this committee or the workings of a committee like this when it wasn't cool to be interested in it. People who have not everyone can do what some people can. I probably was in a position to be able to do some more things than other people can't, but who had a working schedule. But I still think there needs to be some direction, and I'm thinking because there is kind of a lack of direction and people kind of see the way this has gone, I think you've got some people who are hesitant to be part of a process that really isn't outlined very well. But I think the idea of the committees is a wonderful idea. Let's just not get lost up in the politics of things. Let's not get lost in personal things, but let's have some direction. I agree with Christy, maybe not qualifications, but direction. So that would be just my input. But I believe the average folk has a lot to offer.
Thank you, Debbie.
Can I add just one? I mean, to me, this is pretty cut and dry. Either we're all going to concede that we're going to not question what each person brings forth, and we're going to approve it, or if we're not going to do that, then we have to establish some quantifiable qualifications or direction that is going to not make things questionable. It's as simple as that.
And I think that you're absolutely right, Christina, and I think that Lee's also correct in that there's no structure. The structure is lacking. We don't have a real. I mean, there's a lot of nebulous language in the resolutions, and we're to blame. I mean, we were the ones
Passed unanimously.
Yep, every single one of us is to blame for the language of those resolutions and ordinances.
And I'm trying to own that.
And yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to get it fixed now.
Right. No, and that's fine.
nice.
And I think if collectively we feel that the process needs to be refined, and we need to take the process and separate it from the individuals, because I think that's what's happened here. I think the individuals and the process have gotten commingled in this, and it's created a mess. I think that would be very, very smart, and it would be the mature thing for us as a council to do at this point.
I agree. I think that, we really, here we are, we just passed this resolution, we're already trying to fix it. I don't want other councils to have to try to fix stuff later. I'd like to get it done where we know exactly what's going on right now. That way, from this point forward, and there's not any changes, we all agree on it, vote on it, pass it, move down the road, and know exactly what's going on.
I'd like to see these committees have staying power. I'd like to see them be around for a decade or three.
Well, I agree, and here's the thing: the Street Stormwater and Sidewalk Committee was established and passed and is working. My guess is fine at this point.
Tomorrow night's our second meeting.
Second meeting, and we didn't have that appointment process worked the way that I anticipated the appointment process was going to work. And I think if we let the appointment process work, I think there's enough information in the resolutions that, and with somebody from council on there, and with citizens and a staff contact that's going to help. I think we've got everything in place already.
Well, the problem is we tried to vote on one last week and you decided to table it, and so the process didn't work.
Well, last week, and Councilman, I don't want this to be contentious in any way, and I mean that sincerely. But you started talking about a prospective appointee, and you were speaking in hearsay and saying things that were a little on the unkind, a little on the inflammatory side,
At no
bordering
time.
on the slanderous, you know, depending on who you're talking to. And I couldn't with good conscience let that go on last time. I think that, but that's, I want to forget about that for a second and just think, if everybody gets a chance to appoint somebody, and we appoint them, and these committees go to work, you know, the work of the city is going to be supplemented and improved.
I think that, don't mean to interrupt, Mr. Mayor, I apologize, I thought you were done.
No, I wasn't. Go ahead.
Okay. I think the issue here is, and Lee made it very clear, what's a recommendation? Is it non-binding? Is it binding? Can it be vetoed, superseded, thrown out? That's I think where it comes down to, and that's where the structure needs to be put into place. And from that perspective, I think it's prudent for us as a board, as a body, to pull this back, revise those, and craft the language in such a way so that we know where that part of the process stands. And right now, it's nebulous. It's unclear. I mean, we've even had to have legal counsel involved in trying to get clarification. I think that anytime that happens, that's a red flag. And so I would like to have that revisited.
Okay. If you're through, let me get back in on that for just a moment.
Sure.
I think what happened and you know, what's transpired over the past couple of weeks since the last council meeting are a perfect example of checks and balances, which have been a big part of this country since our founding and the founding of our Constitution. You know, people get to make a recommendation, and there is a executive check there as to whether or not the recommendation gets brought forward. And then when it does get brought forward, there's another check where the legislative group, the city council here, gets a chance to vote on it. And now, obviously, you know, I don't think we need to get the judiciary involved, but you know, there's the 10th District Court in Kansas, down in Kansas City, Kansas, or the 10th District Court's in Johnson County, and the U.S. District Court's down in Kansas City, Kansas, so we obviously have an option there, but one that I don't think that we'll see anytime soon. But this is a good opportunity to provide checks and balances, because if we don't have a way for, you know, the person that got elected, whoever it may be, as mayor, to perform an executive task, then where's the check? Where's the balance?
True checks and balances happen when one person brings a person forward and then we as a group vote on it. That's checks and balances. That doesn't allow one person to decide that someone is not qualified.
No, sir, that's separation of powers is the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, and in Gardner, the city council is the legislative, the mayor is the executive, and then hopefully we never have to go to court.
And the role that you're playing, though, is actually would be king, where you decide not to allow someone to go forward.
You know, Governor Brownback has vetoed legislation in his time in office.
You're not a governor.
You're not.
You're a mayor.
And we could vote for the.
Let's just, can we just get to just get to brass tacks here? What do we need to do? Is it a motion? Is it, because I think we have consensus to either revise the existing resolutions and go forward with defining once and for all, whatever definition we come up with as a group, defining that piece, that appointment piece, with all of the necessary components to it, so that it's got a good legal definition, so it's not debatable in any way. I think we have some consensus to go forward with that, is that correct? Am I
agree.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the next step? What do we need to do?
We'll have to table this.
Yeah, that's right. You
We need
just
to
table it at this point.
I move to table, old business item number 1, pending further discussion on the structure of the, resolutions and.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Moore, that we table old business item number 1. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? New business item number 1 is tabled. I'd entertain a motion to table old business item number 2.
Second, or so moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shute, that we table the old business item number 2. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Old business item number 2 is tabled. New business item number 1, consider adopting an ordinance levying a special purpose retailer sales tax. Ryan, we don't see you at the podium open. Good evening.
Good evening. Before you tonight is an ordinance which would allow for the levying of the special purpose sales tax, which passed by mail ballot election on September the 15th, I believe it was. The election results have come back from the Johnson County Election Office, have been certified, and the measure has been approved. Pursuant to state statute, which we cite in the ordinance, the next measure for us to take is to pass this ordinance. We then forward that on to the Kansas Department of Revenue, and then they have a little bit of work to get done before they can begin levying and collecting of the ordinance, so that there's no lapse in time from when our current half-cent sales tax expires at the end of this year until January 1. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and field them.
Public comment regarding new business item number 1. Is there anyone here that would like to make public comment about new business item number 1? With no one coming forward, questions for Ryan Denk or other staff members regarding ordinance number 2498? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Moore, that we adopt ordinance number 2498, levying a special purpose retailer sales tax in the amount of 0.5% within the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk, can you call roll?
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Melton?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Shute?
Yes.
Councilmember Winters?
Yes.
2498 passes. New business item number 2. Consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Geyer Fence Company for fence improvements around the city's underground and ground level water storage tanks located southwest corner of Shawnee and Sycamore intersection. Ryan, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The 2015 budget does include $50,000 for fence improvements around the city's underground and ground level storage tanks. Before you on the screen is a slide of the intersection. The ground storage tank is, you see a light circle, hard to see. There's also an underground storage tank. The site is currently fenced on all 4 sides. It's a requirement with Homeland Security that these sites be protected. The fencing is visible from Main Street, Sycamore, and Shawnee. The west side has very limited visibility to the traveling public and is adjacent to a residential structure. The existing fence is galvanized chain link in fair condition. This potable water storage area must be protected, and as the city moves to enhance our downtown, it's desirable to have a more aesthetically appealing security fence. Of the three bidders that responded with quotes, only Guyer Fence included the CMU columns contained within the specifications. CMU stands for concrete masonry unit. We did two bids. We did a wrought iron fence bid and we did a powder-coated chain link fence bid. So those are examples of what each of those would be. Wrought iron fencing is what we've used at the North Lift Station. And that's actually a picture of the North Lift Station, 167th and Center Street, Gardner Road. And that's a picture of the column that we'd be putting at the water tower also. Both the base bid and alternates contained the CMU from Guyer Fence. The other two bidders did not include these stone columns. Both options do contain a chain link fence on the west side. So either option we pick will have a chain link on the west side, and we did that because there's a house there and they got a dog there. And we wanted to keep the dog out of the water storage area. So whether we go wrought iron, whether we go chain link, there is chain link on the west side. As I said, we did receive three bids. Of the three, only one met specs. Staff reviewed the bids and verified references and does recommend that a contract be awarded to Guyer Fence Company. As stated, the 2015 budget does include $50,000 for this project, and the project is contained within the building services budget. So staff would ask that you authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Guyer Fence in the amount of $59,875 for fence improvements around the city's underground and ground level storage tanks located at the southwest corner of Shawnee and Sycamore.
I have a quick question, Brian.
Sure.
These,
Actually,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
we're gonna open the floor for public comments. If there's anyone in attendance that would like to make public comments regarding new business item number 2, now's your opportunity to step forward, state your name and address for the record, and be heard. He couldn't stay in his seat. I knew he couldn't stay in his seat. Adam, good evening.
Good evening, Adam Boydston, 17441 South Agnes. Good evening, how you guys doing? Good.
Very good, sir.
Save the sidewalk speech for another time. I looked this up on the agenda. It's my understanding that the fence is actually in fair condition. Is that correct? It's correct, okay. It's in working condition. If you look at Google Maps, if you have an opportunity, if you've been over in that area, it doesn't look very pleasing. I get it. But the fence is operational around both sides. If we put a very nice stone and wrought iron fence around there, it will be a very nice fence surrounding yet the same eyesore, which is the issue. If I lived there, I would understand you'd want to have as nice of things around there if you have to look at that. But at the end of the day, we're dressing something up that's really not going to be addressing the problem. No one wants to live next to that, okay? I appreciate that we need it, appreciate why it's there. I just don't understand that $50,000, while it may be budgeted, and you have every right to use that money, I'm sure that $50,000 could possibly be saved for an alternative, maybe look further down the road, table it, whatever, go down to Ace Hardware and buy some black spray paint and shoot the fence up, okay? This is the definition of frivolous spending, in my opinion, as a Gardner, Gardner Indian? I don't know. I guess I never thought of that.
Gardnerite.
Gardnerite, great, okay. Gardner Indian, Gardnerite. That being said, you know, whatever you guys decide to do, I completely understand, but I just don't see the need, because the issue is, you can see it from Main Street. You're still going to be able to see the water storage tank, regardless if there's a nice black fence around it or the current chain link fence around it. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Adam. Anyone else? Questions for Brian or other staff regarding new business item number 2?
I have the column thing, I'm gonna go out on a limb. We requested that for what reason? Just for aesthetics? Because
Yeah, we,
that's a complete security issue. That makes it so easy to jump up on top of that column and jump across. Why do we even have a fence?
And that's something that we could look at, the rebidding. When we looked at this originally back a year and a half ago, we were looking at trying to enhance the downtown.
Right.
And one of the fences that we identified was what we did at the North Lift Station. That also has, security issues also, and so that was a nice one that we tailored this one after. We understood the cost, and so that's why we bid an alternative to chain link.
I'm with Adam. I think we'd be better off spending money painting that thing like a giant minion, just calling it good.
So I actually had a question, like, can you paint a fence like that? Can you powder coat it? Can you?
I think powder coat's probably a dipped process where you would dip the thing in there.
It's electrically charged, and you spray negative charged ions, and
And the fence is, I mean, in snow removal operations on private property adjacent to that fence, 2 years ago, they pushed snow from a parking lot into the fence to clear their parking lot and to get it off of the city streets, and they bent the fence. And so I say it's in fair condition, it is operational, but it's leaning. I mean, there are issues with the fence.
And what about, is a wood fence an option? Any kind of a wood? I mean, that would actually.
Probably not from a security perspective. I mean, this is something we've got to keep people out of the best we can.
I've got a quick question about, well, the columns, I think, because I think that Homeland Security actually uses barriers, but I don't think that they have columns. The columns, I mean, you could push those columns, you ram it with a truck like Rich's truck.
you don't even have to ram it. Just the fence is the weak part.
Yeah, the fence is the weak part, and so, you could use that as a battering ram. I mean, it's, to me, it seems that the columns actually detract from the security aspect, and it's probably the most expensive part of the fence. I mean, when I look at the bids, and I saw that the other two don't include CMEs, and you're talking about, in the situation with one of the other bidders, they have a, and I know their work, and it's good work. They bid out $28,575 for their base bid without the columns, and Geyer came in at $49,875. So if we're spending, was it $20,000 on stone columns, that could potentially be used to destroy the very deterrent that we're trying to create. That just doesn't seem, it doesn't seem right, and maybe someone else can explain it to me. I don't know.
Brian, have we looked at what it would take just to replace the front part that isn't?
Yeah.
We have not looked at that. I mean, it was, the discussion about a year and a half ago was really centered around, we talked about enhancing the downtown as you're driving in from the east heading west. It's directly across from the school. The thought being, let's go ahead and enhance that look as we're making improvements downtown. I disagree a little bit with Adam on that the tanks are an eyesore from a painting perspective. If we brand them in the future, we can do some things with those and make them maybe pop a little bit better.
And a minion on it.
But we did not look at just, replacing the existing fence, straightening it up.
That is, I drove by it just this morning and made sure I took a look. It is very clean, it is very white. It's a big tank, but it's not ugly at this point.
No.
It's been a little less than eye appealing on occasion, but currently it looks fine.
Yeah. I mean,
I would imagine that painting a minion on it would probably be a little more expensive than just painting it a color.
At least it's a thing to come and look at.
Here's my thinking on this. This is when we're talking about needs versus wants, at the current time, and I'm not talking about 2 or 3 years from now, this is very, very clearly to me a want. It's not really a need. I mean, if we rehab the fence, fix the current chain link pieces that are bent, we can get some more useful life out of that fence for a couple of years while we are devising our downtown revitalization strategy. Because right now, we're putting the cart before the horse. It's kind of like with those things with the ornamental street lamps. We were talking about several, actually before you guys got here. We were talking about ornamental street lamps, and it wasn't time for that. And I don't think it's time for this either right now. I think we need to probably go back, get some additional bids on just a chain link solution for repairs to the existing fence that's not necessarily, totally correct. And then maybe in a year or two, we could talk about getting it replaced.
I would assume we probably wouldn't have to bid that, right?
No, we probably.
Well, yeah, with our purchasing policy, anything under 50,000 we solicit informal quotes. anything from 25, why it's before you this evening, 25 to 50 comes before the council, but it's an informal process.
Okay.
So, I have a question about, the fence. Are we concerned with any security lapse kind of thing with the current fence, or, I mean, is there any redeeming, value in replacing this fence altogether in terms of, will we get better security out of it?
We're gonna have to do a lot of work on the, east side next to Sycamore. And so that side would likely be, I mean, the poles are bent. I mean, it's one of those things where we're gonna have to strip it down and reset those.
So we'll have to, so basically what we would need to do then, I think, is look at the cost of that versus the cost of one of these other lesser expensive, options, like one of the $20,000 options. 'Cause it sounds like if we're gonna be resetting posts and replacing chain link, and we're probably gonna get close to that 20 grand pretty quickly.
And if we go with a full chain link solution, I don't see that as necessarily a bad idea. I just would like to be able to keep the cost as low as possible.
Okay, so just to recap, we'll go ahead and vote on the issue, although it seems like it's going to fail. But we would probably like Brian to come back with, fence security measures that could be, implemented, not be an eyesore, but be a little less expensive, as well as effective. And, you think you could put something together for us like that in the upcoming weeks and months?
Certainly.
I'd also like to go on the record as saying that I do enjoy the aesthetics of the water tower in that location.
Adam's the odd man out on the water tower.
I don't even notice it, to be honest, so it's like, yeah.
Well, that's 'cause it's clean now. I tell you what, when it was rusty and stuff, I mean,
it was bad.
you noticed. I did anyway.
Nice,
So,
good can of paint will do.
I believe that, I would entertain a motion that, the motion's going to be to authorize the city administrator. If you don't want to authorize the city administrator, the right vote would be no. So I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Melton, that we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Geyer Fence Company in the amount of $49,875 for the fence improvements around the city's underground and ground level water storage tanks located at the southwest corner of the Shawnee and Sycamore intersection. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. All those opposed?
No.
No.
Any abstention? New business item number 2 does not pass. That is it for new business items. I'd like to, we'll go ahead and move on to council updates. And I'm gonna ask, staff if they have anything for council, but I'm gonna start from the other end of the dais. Chief Bruting, I understand that you probably have an update for council regarding, people like, I don't know, Sergeant Hollingshead in the, northwest corner of council chambers. It's, up for, a little meritorious, commendations.
Oh, yes. You know what, I don't have that list with me. We have 4 people that are gonna get, recognized at the Metro Chiefs, awards ceremony. I believe it is after the next council meeting, so I'll bring that information to council then.
That'd be great. I know it's Sergeant Hollingshead, Officer Pemberton, Lieutenant Kraut, and then,
Right.
yeah, Joe Lucci.
Yes.
So.
2 of them are getting the bronze award and 2 are getting the life-saving award.
Awesome.
That is fantastic. Yeah. Chief, you got anything else from the cop shop for us?
Just that, and I put this out earlier this week, that the 3 individuals, from the Greenway robbery, all of them have been apprehended, and all 3 have been charged with aggravated robbery.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you,
Awesome.
Chief.
Thank you.
Good police work.
Great work.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
City Clerk, you got anything for us? Finance Director, Legal? City Administrator?
No.
Ryan? Larry?
Yes, Mayor, I do. At the September 21st City Council meeting, there was a request of the council to review the length of time it takes to issue a sign permit. We went back and did an analysis over the past 24 months, and in the last 12 months, from the 1st of this month back to the 10th of last year, we've done 23 sign permits. 20 of them, or 86% of them, were approved under 5 days. The other 3 took different varying lengths of time because of issues with the signs that needed additional work, engineering work, or clearance work, or site location work before they could be approved. But all of those were approved. In the previous 12 months prior to that, we had 47 sign permits that were issued from 10 of 13 to 10 of 14. Of those permits, 42% or 89% of them were approved in under 5 days. We did have 3 sign permits that were referred to the BZA for variances. Because of that, one of those took 28 days and 2 of those took 43 days. The 28-day one was the flagpole permit application for Perkins. The 43-day ones were actually the 2 school signs for Grand Street that took some time to get revised and actually had to do with site location and other issues that this council looked at. 2 signs took under 10 days, and basically those 2 were, again, just engineering issues that had to be reconciled before they could be approved. So we really feel like we're performing well in getting sign permits approved over a fairly short period of time, at least in the last 24 months. Along with that, we looked at the number of complaints that we've had over the last couple of years, and the temporary sign permits appear to be the most, at least the largest issue when we get a sign complaint. And in 2014, we had 9 complaint cases that were filed from 9 different cities. None of them went to court. They were all voluntarily taken care of. And this year to date, we've had 19 complaint cases with 13 different businesses. So we have one business that's had 3 complaints this year. Of those, 17 have been voluntarily taken care of. So there's 1 outstanding with the 3 business complaints. There's still 1 that's outstanding. We're working with that business to try and get voluntary compliance. And then we have 2 court cases that did have citations, 1 of which has gone to court and been completed. And actually that case was completed through, it was a wall sign permit that was needed. They did comply with that, but it had already gone to court, and so the court dismissed the case and just charged court fees. And on the other one, that has been transferred out to trial, and it's still set for trial, and has not occurred yet at this point in time. So based on those types of things, we would like to bring to your attention the fact that we happen to have a pending case before the Board of Zoning Appeals tomorrow night, which is a temporary sign request variance. And since that is where we are discussing the issue with the sign codes and bringing up different types of activities, I guess we would like to know what the council's intent or confirmation would be for that particular case to be put on some type of moratorium in case that would allow us to go through and continue working with the code requests that you have put in place for us to try and do something with fast-tracking the sign code ordinances, the current sign code ordinance, and allow concurrently the existing work that's going on with the Land Development Code rewrite to continue. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work, because you're dealing with a quasi-legal entity at that point in time.
Yeah, I've seen I've read the action form for the BZA. It doesn't seem as if the Coleman folks are meeting any of the 5 criteria. Maybe 1 of the 5. And yeah, I understand why you would be coming to us asking this, but what they're asking for seems excessive to me, that even with an updated sign code, I don't know that.
It still falls outside the bounds of it?
I would think so. I could fumigate my house if we just laid the temporary sign over the top of it. It is a great big sign. But that's just one man's opinion. And I guess to expound on the opinion, I'm prepared to let the BZA do their job.
Thank you. We just wanted to bring it to your attention. I don't know what else you wanted to do with it, so.
If you're looking for consensus, what are we saying? Because to me, I think that we should let the process work, and if it comes back to, you know, a violation, we can actually address it at that point. Is that fair?
That sounds fair to me.
I mean, I don't want to take it out of BZA's hands.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much for the direction on that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
May I address the topic? Thank you.
Certainly.
Don't worry, I won't pound my other hand, I might break that one.
Yeah.
Jason Camus, I'm the Chamber of Commerce president, and this is something, it's somewhat unfortunate that the signage thing has kind of come to a head over the last couple weeks, and I've received, obviously, a number of calls, both from members and from non-member businesses, and, I'm fully aware of the process. I've talked with Larry quite a bit. I've actually had many conversations with the code officer about it. We even, months ago, went out and toured when some of the complaints started coming in and looking at that. And what I want to offer is one of the biggest complaints I hear from businesses is that besides this, a lot of it's new. Maybe they have been not following sign ordinance for years, and it's just either been looked the other way or not paid attention to, and then all of a sudden now, and obviously many of you own small businesses, it's not easy. It takes a lot of time out to deal with this while you're dealing with everything else. I don't think any of the businesses have said up front, and I will give Carrie Butler great kudos, because most of 90% of the people I've talked to have said she was great. She approached it very delicately. They understood and so forth. What I think, I fully believe that the process needs to be worked through. One of the things that was brought up was 3 or 4 years ago, Shirley Brown Van Arsdale mentioned that 3 or 4 years ago there was a consultant, I believe, hired. There was a signed process that it went through, and then nothing, her words were, and then it was kind of put off to the side on the shelf. There was going to be a land code development rewrite and so forth. She called me earlier this week, just said, hey, I've got all these notes. I don't have the actual final product, but there's a final product out there that exists. They met with a number of business owners. She really encouraged, the chamber as well as other businesses to, suggest that, hey, let's relook at that as we go through this process, not recreate work. Obviously, we want our community to look good. Signage should be appropriate, but in the same token, it shouldn't be onerous, for businesses to comply with. One of the biggest complaints, obviously, that I hear from is the temporary, and I think with most cities that is probably the hardest issue to deal with, because you allow temporary and it can pop up anywhere and everywhere and so forth. But I just wanted to bring that up particularly about the study that had been done. Encourage if it's council, if it's through the process, but it is something that businesses do care about and are concerned about, enough so that non-member businesses call the chamber to find out what the heck is going on. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. If there's anything I should be conveying back to those businesses, I'm happy to take that back to them, or if there's information that you would like to hear from them, I encourage you to let me know as well.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason.
Larry, it seems like there was a big increase from last year to this year. Do you have any idea why that might be?
We've had more contact, I think, with the public that has brought signs to our attention that once they're brought to our attention, we do have to go out and have a meeting with the property owner and discuss the proper response to them. Like I said, we've had, in most cases, voluntary compliance with the code issues that we've come across. In regards to Jason's comments, I would agree. Carrie Butler's done an excellent job in working with the public, and trying to obtain voluntary compliance. Our process really is, we get a complaint, she goes out and meets with them, they discuss the issue, she gives them a certain amount of time to come into compliance, usually 10 days. If that does not solve the issue, she goes back out and sees them again, talks to them. If they don't resolve the issue, she writes a letter of abatement. That takes another 10 days. So we're 20, 30, 40 days out sometimes before we ever issue a citation. And we're doing the best we can to try and be business friendly in this particular issue. I agree with Jason, there's some confusion on the sign code. It's something that if you don't use very often, it doesn't make much sense. And we try and be as much, as compliant as possible with the requests that we get. We try and find ways to make signs work. It doesn't always work the way they want them. Some of it has to do with our zoning code because of the way we have to put signs, the locations we have to put signs. That will be handled somewhat through the code rewrite. What we're thinking is concurrent with that, and at this point in time, either the Planning Commission or the City Council can initiate a tweak of the code. And what we would like would be for the council to consider, to look at the temporary sign, which is where we're having the most issue. The temporary sign code regulations are found in section 18.170.120, section E-2 of the municipal code, and it reads, such signs shall be permitted for a maximum period of 30 calendar days in each calendar year. The 30-day time frame, one sign, once in 12 months, it's a little restricted. We've done some research. We need to do some more research. We'd kind of like to have something initiated that we could bring to the Planning Commission that would allow us to look at that code and bring back some best practices solutions to you at this particular point in time. In the next, well, we need to get it to the Planning Commission, so it'd be in the November meeting, they would look at it, and then it would come back to you in December. And in the meantime, we would do our best to work with citizens in whatever way necessary to have as few citations issued as possible, or you could initiate a moratorium if you so desired.
I have a question real quick, Larry. How many citations have we issued in the last 6 months for sign violations?
In the last 6 months?
Correct.
I know since the first quarter, we've had 16 this year. We've had 20 so far year to date. 4 of those were carryovers from the previous year. So 16 this year to date.
Okay.
And only 2 of those have been to court.
Personally, and this is kind of going back to that whole business-friendly thing, we understand there's a problem with our sign codes. We understand there's a problem with the overall land development code. We're actively rewriting. There's 2 areas where businesses have to really examine the sign code. That is, 1, when they're established, when they're being established, which is a very critical time for a business, and 2, when they're expanding.
Yes.
And so, if we're having issues with either establishing signs at the location or with some sort of an issue with complaints, given what we're doing right now with the land development code and the sign code, I think the prudent approach would probably be to hold off on citation issuances until we actually have something before the council we can vote on.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Do want you to be aware, we do have 1 existing citation in court,
Yes.
which has been set out to the 28th for trial.
Okay.
So that is the only pending case that we have at the present time.
Land Development Code, we're having an open house on that on October 20th, I believe.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up. It is October 20th at 6:30 here in the council building. We will have discussion papers. We will have Gould Evans here with several consultants that night. We have 6 discussion papers, of which signage is one of those. Each one of those areas is very important to our community and to the land code rewrite. We would like to have the public here to rotate among all the tables. It will be kind of an open forum type scenario, and we would like for them to rotate through and give us input on each one of those areas. The downtown is one of the subject areas that we're talking about. Street trees is a subject. Housing is a subject. Signage is a subject. It's another one, I'm sorry, it goes off my mind right now, but they're all very important for us. Open spaces for the downtown area, or for the community as a whole. So we would invite the public to attend that. It'll go till we're done. We're hoping to spend at least an hour here and have a good turnout. We will break into sections both out in the lobby out here and into this room so that there's plenty of space for people to talk and to take their time to participate. So that definitely is one thing that we would like to invite the public in for. And then just one more quick update on the trailer, boat, and RV storage request that you had. We are maintaining, of course, your consensus request right now to not enforce that particular section of the code. We would like you to know that we are gathering data. If you may recall, some of you were, about a year ago, were involved in a review of this very sign code change trailer storage code change that we went through. So we're revisiting all of those other 8 cities to see if there have been any by the city council, and also looking to see if there are any additional best practices that might have come into being in other cities that we haven't talked to in the meantime, to bring back to you in November.
Thanks.
Thank you. So all you folks out there, October 20th, bring a friend or a neighbor with you, and I hope everybody on the dais will encourage your friends and neighbors to attend.
Mayor? I'm sorry, one thing I forgot to mention is the discussion papers will be posted online on our website if people want to read them.
Great.
So.
Fantastic. Jeff, you have anything? I understand you had very good attendance for tournaments at the parks in September. Was it September?
We've been very busy in the parks here this fall. The weather's cooperating a little bit better than it did in the spring and summer. We actually had a drone flying around a week or so ago at Celebration Park, and soccer fields, football fields, baseball, softball fields were full. We also had a new program on the trails, and there was no place to park, so all 660 parking stalls and some of the overflow in the grass is full. It's kind of quite a sight, so it's been a great fall so far.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gonzo?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing? Very good. All right, does council have anything for staff?
I just wanted to make sure that staff is clear on the outcome of our discussion earlier, and that you have a direction. Do you have all the direction that you needed, or do you want more?
My understanding is that I'm scheduling a work session to gather input from the council, and that you're really just looking for staff to schedule the work session, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And then the work session will be to discuss the ad hoc appointment process and what to do with the existing resolutions, how to go forward with the existing ones, whether we revise them or rescind them or whatever we have to do.
Yep.
And then the other one was the fence proposal needs to include to address the security needs, and also comparing the cost of repair versus replace.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I just have one question for the land development code. Are those discussions going to include any of the fee structure associated with it, or will that come afterwards? So any of the fees we charge for rezoning or signs or sign permits, is that going to be discussed as part of this? So will benchmark data be provided? Will that be incorporated, or will that come after we get completed with the rewrite?
Most of that will come later. We will have data available from Gould Evans if there are specific questions raised that they will be able to address in those particular categories.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
I got nothing.
Rich?
I noticed on the expenses this week that there's, we have council folks who are eating out on the taxpayers' dime again, and I'd just like to remind everybody, I think it'd be good to not do that and buy our own lunches. That was the first thing. The second thing is, Cheryl, have we got a contract from you yet? Can you say, can you answer that?
I'm sorry,
now, or-
what do you?
For because your contract's coming due, correct? And your contract is
March.
coming due.
In March, you have the option to either do a new contract to extend or allow the contract we have to roll over.
Okay, so you're not gonna present it
So
to
I'm not-
everyone then, you're gonna just let us
Would you like,
negotiate? I mean,
Actually-
would you like that?
how would you like?
Actually, I'm wanting to, we need to have a executive
Executive
session
session.
conversation about it.
Yeah, this is gonna
Which
require-
is probably going to come up at the next council meeting. I've been talking with the council president about it. We're ready to bring it to the council for
Great.
a little bit
Well,
more
I
discussion.
wanna make sure we have all our ducks in a row.
Yeah, those discussions have already been.
I mean, we only have 11, as I counted, 11 meetings until March, so I figure we wanna do something, because I know there's a few other things between now and then.
Well, speaking as council president, I think it behooves us as a body to have this done
Well
one way or
before.
the other, well before expiration of the contract,
Right.
so that everybody has certainty.
Right, exactly.
I don't want our city administrator being, hung out to dry, and I don't want the people who are outside the city who want to do business with the city wondering who the heck they're gonna do business with.
Right, exactly
So,
why I brought it up.
absolutely, let's move forward with that.
I have one more thing, if I could.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that, tomorrow night, Tuesday, October 6th, at the Senior Center, at 7 p.m. is the Street Sidewalks and Stormwater Committee featuring Adam Boydston.
Signatures available.
He'll be live and in concert.
Okay, very
That's all I
good. Well, and that's what I wanted to cover. I talked with Larry and the chief about, so I know everybody was tired of hearing from me this evening, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second Harrison, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention, we stand in adjournment.
You know what, here's the problem with this,